Let's go through the theory for box plots, okay, and I'll do some examples in a subsequent video. So what is a box plot? Okay, so a box plot, and sometimes it's called a box and whisker plot. Okay, so on odd occasions I might refer to them as box and whisker plots, is really just a way of visualizing the quartiles of a set of scores. Okay, and that also includes the minimum and the maximum scores. So if you recall when you looked at quartiles, interquartile range, and we determined Q1, median, Q3, I mean, they're just numbers. But in the end, what do they represent? They represent very special points that divide a set of scores into quarters. So it'd be good to be able to visualize that, because that gives us an indication of the distribution shape. If you recall, all that negatively skewed, positively skewed, symmetrical, you can actually see that with one of these, which is actually, very nice. So box plots are useful for rapid visual comparison of different groups of scores. And I might actually add here that they're also useful for determining determining the shape of a distribution, and gives an indication. Okay, so I'm going to add that in, and gives an indication. Okay, to the shape of a distribution, or the shape of the distribution. Okay, so, all right, so I just wanted to sort of that now. I just thought, no, it's actually very, very useful. In fact, we'll have a look at this example down here shortly. Okay, now drawing a box plot, okay, must be drawn to scale. So I'm just going to stress this little bit here. In the example, I'll show you one way of doing that. Okay, and it actually gives what we call a 5-number summary of a set of scores. So what is this 5-number summary? There's 5 very special points. We need the minimum score, so that's just the lowest one. Okay, Q1, you know what that one is, right? That's the lower quartile. The median, or Q2, which is the second quartile. Then you have Q3, which is the upper quartile. And then you have the maximum score. So this is what a typical box and whisker plot would look like. I'll just move the board up a little bit. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Okay. Right, so there's the minimum score. These are called whiskers. Okay, so these little tails that come out of the box itself. Okay, so that's the minimum score. Q1 is the start of the box. The median line, okay, so that's actually considered, well, that's the line that is the median, sorry, that's inside the box. That's the line that separates the bottom 50% of the data from the top 50%. So you know what a median is, all right? That's how it's shown visually, okay, on a box and whisker plot. Okay, then you've got the Q3, which is the other end of the box, and then you've got the maximum score. So each of these regions, okay, they separate the data into groups of 25, basically 25% of the data each. So 1/4 of the data would belong here on the lower whisker. Another 1/4 of the data belongs inside the box, but the lower part. The next 25% of the data of the scores would sit obviously above the median, but below Q3. And then the upper 25% of the data would be from Q3 up to the maximum score. Okay. Now the interquartile range is the width of the box itself. All right, and that's also where box and whisker plots are very, very useful. Sometimes we're not interested in the whiskers themselves, but we're interested in the behavior of the middle 50%. Okay, so the central 50% of scores, how are they doing? Okay. So this could be, for example, useful for looking at exam results, for example, between various tests that are done to show potential improvement. Okay, in for example, from term 1 to term 2 to term 3, assuming the difficulty level is identical, we could see that from the box itself. Okay, the outliers, well, if there are outliers, that'll obviously be right at the ends of the whiskers there. All right, so you recall interquartile range is just Q3 minus Q1. Okay, and that's the width of the box there. All right, again, we talked about drawing it to scale, so it's very important. You need one of these, all right, and either you draw the scale using a ruler and then just using obviously the markings on a ruler, to determine the placement for the 5-number summary, the minimum score all the way to the maximum score, and then just neatly drawing the box. Now, of course, we can use technology for that to draw that, but obviously in a closed book examination style assessment, you need to know how to draw these manually. All right, in the next video, we're going to look at a couple of examples of one drawing a box and whisker plot, and then another one where we're going to interpret a box and whisker plot that's already drawn.